السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. The world has lost its mind. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Once an hour, I'm looking at different sources and different news to see if anything has changed. If there's any hope. Expecting some sort of hero to come to the rescue. I don't understand this. I don't understand what the Arab nations are waiting for. What a freaking cowards. 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 Look what they did. They are hell-bent on massacring the Palestinian people. Their plans are very, very clear. This is what they think of them.
Punishment, as he put it, of the Palestinian people. And I want to talk about that in the context of the blockade and keeping fuel out of Gaza. I just wonder if you think that that is really necessary.
You know, I'm very puzzled by the constant concern which the world and also Britain, I must say, Mark, is showing for the Palestinian people, and is actually showing for these horrible, inhuman animals who have done the worst atrocities that this century has seen, and the worst atrocities that Jews have suffered.
He is puzzled. He is surprised that the world is showing any concern for the Palestinians. He doesn't even understand. Can you believe these people? These are the people that have suffered. An enormous suffering. They act like suffering and despair only belongs to them. No one else can have it.
States reacted to 9/11. I don't remember people shedding tears for the Taliban or Al-Qaeda. Your country, Mark, actually, Britain, actually joined them and even sent your royals to fight in Afghanistan. When the Ukrainians reacted to Russia's invasion, I don't remember people worrying about the poor Russian soldiers and whether they had enough food.
What does that mean? It means that they've already decided that the entire Palestinian population are all combatants. They've already decided. They're not going to let anyone get out. They're actually calling journalists and telling them to step out, come out, because we're going to be bombing your buildings. And when they come out, they're opening fire, shelling them. They're not only killing these people, they're actually terrorizing them by telling them to head south and then shelling them or bombing them. They are bombing them in the darkness. Imagine that. No internet, no food, no fuel, no water, in the dark, and you're being bombed. Imagine the terror. Oh my God. Imagine the terror. You're asleep. I mean, you can't even sleep, but you're bunkering down. You don't know if your house is gonna be hit next. What have we become? Oh my God. And the Arab nations, how can they sleep at night? What have we become? What have we become? Muslim nations, not only Arabs, they're all silent. I mean, except Erdogan, Turkey. I mean, no one can touch these people except Allah. They're not even member of the International Criminal Court. Israel and the US are not part of that. They're not a member. No one can do anything. So all this rhetoric, empty rhetoric is what I call it. When Erdogan, Turkey has the largest troops in NATO. I mean, empty rhetoric. He still has ties with Israel. Their relationship is still intact. The normalization is still on. The only two nations that are showing even the slightest bit of integrity and decency are two South American countries, Colombia and Bolivia.
First primary purpose of this organization is to maintain international peace and security and to take collective measures to prevent and eliminate threats to peace and to end acts of aggression or other endangerments of the peace. In this regard, we highlight the efforts deployed by the United Nations to attempt to resolve the situation of the Palestinian people. We recognize the diplomatic efforts that at this very moment are being undertaken by the Secretary General together with other international stakeholders. However, we note that all of these efforts have been insufficient to grant them peace and the right to self-determination, that is, to the Palestinian people. Since the end of the 19th century, year after year, these people have been displaced from their territory for colonial ends. There is a great debt to the people of Palestine because we were not able to comply with what we established as the resolution in 1947 for a just and lasting peace.
This guy has real guts.
As our actions,
tiny country,
as their actions progress slowly, Israel has benefited from the resolution that gave them statehood and is now an occupying power, and it ignores all of the further decisions and resolutions of the United Nations. This is a clear demonstration of disregard and a lack of respect for the international community and developments in international law and international humanitarian law, which are the foundation for international peace and security. President, Excellencies, colleagues, we reject the loss of life in any part of the world and the suffering of peoples regardless of their nationality. For this reason, we must act with urgency and we must do so coherently. The lives of Palestinian people, men and women, have the same value as those of all citizens of the world.
Thank you.
In recent days, we have watched stunned these disproportionate attacks against civilians in Gaza. To date, more than 8,500 Palestinians have lost their lives. Some 70% of them are women and children. We are at
Woe
a
to
turning
Arabs.
point in this conflict where Israel, as the occupying power, has decided to apply collective punishment to the Palestinians in Gaza. So those who does not recognize their existence. It is destroying their schools, hospitals, and depriving them of their most basic rights, leaving the population without food, without fuel, without electricity, without medical assistance, and without water. The inhuman aggressiveness and the false arguments of the state of Israel can no longer be sustained. How is it possible for the aggressor now to call for the right to defense, placing itself as a victim? This cannot be covered up. The aggressor, one responsible for genocide, is Israel. Those responsible for these crimes against humanity, for these war crimes, must be held accountable and must be brought to international justice. Excellencies, colleagues, President, we cannot continue to watch indifferently children, human beings beneath the rubble, and innocent lives are being torn away in devastation as a result of bombs and weapons. The action of the United Nations can save thousands of lives. For this reason, all parties and those involved must assume the responsibility and seek peace and justice. In this regard, my delegation has co-sponsored the resolution presented by Jordan and that was approved by an overwhelming majority of this international community, so that there be an immediate ceasefire and the humanitarian needs of the Palestinian people be attended to, as well as the citizens of other countries
but at least it's not a
who
coward.
are also trapped in the region.
Like the Arab nations, the leaders of the Arab nations.
To the weapons and to the death. Life is the most precious good that humanity has. We regret the fate out of the Security Council following.
He's going to actually sever ties with them, with Israel, the first nation to do so.
Have represented a small light at the end of the tunnel for the Palestinians in Gaza. We call for the Security Council to act swiftly and to send a unanimous, clear and strong message to Israel so that they stop taking more innocent lives. Madam President, Bolivia has the utmost respect for international law, for the Charter of the United Nations and for the member states, and we will go down on the right side of history. We are on the side of the rights of the Palestinian people. As a result, the people and government of Bolivia has taken the decision to break diplomatic ties from today with the state of Israel.
As the Muslims are still silent, eating their biryani berries and lamb, enjoying their lives. Woe to Arabs. So despicable. So despicable. They are so humiliated daily. I mean, think about it. The only time America flexes its muscle is when it's intimidating Muslim countries. When it's basically mowing the lawn. We hear that term in Israel. But America does it too, to the Muslim countries. Because a lot of them have no dignity. But there's, I don't know if I should call it hope, but there's hope. Because so many people, young and old, so many people are learning about this for the first time. Like this beautiful young man. Check him out. So beautiful, mashallah. So articulate. But who's listening?
I got arrested for the first time yesterday. As I stepped in front of the Marine Corps Marathon at the Capitol building, I screamed at the top of my lungs for them to stop. With every pent-up feeling I had in my heart, I yelled and asked them to consider for one moment how we can live normal lives while the people of Palestine are bombed to death every day. How we can run for the Marines on the same earth that Palestinians run for their lives. Have we lost our humanity? That not a single person can stop running for 1 second and ask, what are we doing? Silence followed as they went on with their run, never once slowing down. I turned around expecting to see police descend on me for disrupting the thin veil over our false reality in America that we call peace. But for a couple more valuable minutes, I was alone. I continued on and on, pouring out my soul as the runners began to jeer, avert their gaze, or raise their fist in passing, expecting me to be silently grateful that they merely acknowledged my cries. Till finally, one man, after passing me and apparently reconsidering his silence, was consumed with anger by my plea to look at what we've become. "Hey," he threatened, taking a step towards me. And instantly, before I could even think of what I wanted to say, a black woman appeared. With her back to me and her head held high, she faced him down. "He's free to do whatever he wants," she ordered, as the man shrunk away, and she went along on her run, without me ever seeing her face. I turned back around, continuing on, before the same man approached me once more, a strained calm in his voice this time, asking as genuinely as he could muster, "Do Israeli lives matter?" I laughed. What a ridiculous question. Did the English colonizers' lives matter? Did the Spaniard colonizers' lives matter? Or any other oppressor in history? They all came at first posing as equal humans before deciding the people who stood before them were less, and annihilated the population, demanding the survivors thank them for having let them live at all.
So beautiful, mashallah.
And after the indigenous people's violent colonization was retold generation after generation by the people that colonized them, it became an unfortunate event of the past that we would surely never let happen again. And if it did, we would fight with everything we had to stop it. Yet when the Palestinians fought back and said, "We will not let this happen to us. Please, world, support us in our fight against our oppressor," the world watched from afar, debating the reports and information that their government fed them through every media outlet they controlled, big and small. The same government that has done nothing but lie to us over and over and over again to protect their own interests, who want us to fight amongst ourselves as the missiles continue to rain down on Palestine. The most aware among us refusing to sit quietly, taking to the streets, yelling for a couple hours, before patting ourselves on the back and saying, "That's enough for today. We tried our best, but we have work in the morning. We have plans after this. But I'll be at the next one. Surely, if we spread awareness with more voices, our condemnation won't fall on deaf ears once more." While hundreds more innocent Palestinians were murdered that night, their families wailing in pain, mourning their martyrs, but never once condemning their resistance. And the people of the free world, asleep in their beds, exhausted from having spent the day arguing online about which side to condemn, to one day with earnesty look back and say, they did everything they could during that terrible time in history that we will surely never let happen again. And if they try, we will come together and show them with non-violence the way they taught us our whole lives, for perhaps they have forgot. And we will show them that the people of Earth are against them, never once stopping to consider that we are trying to get the largest empire in modern history to abandon its most important military outpost with the power of Kumbaya. Never once remembering that same non-violence we are so proud for upholding is what brought us and the people we seek to defend back to this point once more, as our oppressors wield their exclusive right to violence in order to protect the status quo and further their own self-interest. We plead with their good conscience, failing to consider it was something they lost long ago. What can we do then but rise up, organize to once and for all wield that same weapon, but this time to protect one another, to cut our chains and make those that place them upon us face justice for the cruelty that they so selfishly unleashed upon the world. I was taken to the station and locked in a box for an hour before they released me with a citation. Let us show them that was a mistake, for they underestimated the brightness that one light can shine for those in the world who yearn to be free, yearn to stand tall as dignified humans. Let us amass, get out from behind our screens, and get to know our community face to face as we organize to resist against our common struggle, sharing the resources we have as we learn from one another and grow together in order to fight for our liberation. For those that are ready, bring only what you need, leaving everything else behind. For we will support one another, as I can tell you with certainty, I have been supported by friends and strangers alike thus far. Let us burn the boats that we merely survived on as we take over the land to live. Let us be free, for our time has come.
I've never felt more hopeless and helpless. How could people that went through what Jewish people went through can do that to another, can murder thousands of children? No end in sight.